Toastmasters and guests. I'm going to start my speech with a question and end with a question, but I promise it won't be a pop quiz or anything like that. So, how many here think that your children or your nieces and nephews, the children in your life, spend enough time outdoors playing? For most of you. Okay, examples. If you do, what are some of the examples that they do?
I don't have children.
Nieces or nephews?
I would say I consider my dog my child. Just hiking, backpacking, camping, always outside.
Okay.
Trying to get more into gardening and doing things like that. But I live in California, so
it's easy to be outside.
Yeah.
What about children? Anybody? Your children? Do you feel that they're outside?
And we go to the park and do nature trails almost every day for an hour and a half. Very tight schedule. I'm trying to squeeze that in, but he needs that to go to bed on time. So better to get his energy out. And over the weekends we try to discover a park almost every week. Right. Yeah. So we go far out. So Monterey County, and sometimes we go to the parks. So we try to do that every week.
A lot in this area too. So that ties in perfectly with studies have shown that children on an average are spending 6 hours in front of either the TV or computers or plugged into some type of technology, and only 4 minutes a day or less in unstructured outdoor play. According to Robert Luth, who wrote Last Child in the Woods, children nowadays are experiencing nature deficit disorder, which is leading to health issues like obesity, depression, or anxiety, and also attention problems, which is going to be detrimental in school. They're losing contact with the natural environment, which could potentially benefit their well-being and their health. Okay, so the next question would be is what can we do about this? Not only parents are being encouraged to go ahead and get their children outdoors more. Agencies such as the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, who I'm employed by, have been challenged with finding a way to connect people with nature, especially our children. If there's a strong correlation that as children, if you have more outdoor experiences and things outside in the nature, that it helps to, when you're an adult, to care about nature, to care about policies that have to do with nature, which as a wildlife regulatory agency, we want people to care about nature and what's out there and our species. Okay. For example, the Nevada Fish and Wildlife Service Office, along with the Nature Society, the Nature Conservancy, excuse me, recently developed a program called Ranching and Wildlife. And this is RAW for short. It's modeled off of a program in Colorado where high school students who are more rural are paired with urban elementary school students. They're brought out and they're taught about sustainable ranching, wildlife conservation, and also wildlife stewardship. The Nevada Fish and Wildlife Service has the initial field day just happened a couple weeks ago, and that took place on the Nature Conservancy's River Fork Ranch, which is near Genoa, Nevada, in the Carson Valley. The ranch is a working ranch and also a preserve of 850 acres. A local rancher does rotational grazing on that ranch, and he was an integral part also in the Ranching and Wildlife program. That day that the children came, there were 81 second graders, and they spent the whole day on the ranch. There were 5 stations that were set up, and the children that rotated through each of the stations learned about pollinators, the monarch butterfly, bees, and how those pollinated not only our wild plants, but also their role in agriculture. They learned the cattle management, roping and branding skills. They learned about vermiculture. They learned the birds and adaptations in the Carson Valley, and also the watershed in the Carson Valley and how important the watershed use is there. The students also were given a locavore lunch afterwards of everything that was grown basically within the Nevada area, and it was barbecued by the rancher, so he had served his ranch-bred, the grain-fed cattle, and also there were potatoes grown in Winnemucca, so the French fries, and it was all served on compostable dinnerware, so the children were able to see the cycle of where their food comes from, and then to be able to compost it. The RAW is a great environmental education program that matches up local ranchers, students, and conservation. And now that that pilot program was so successful, they're going to expand it to Title I schools in Reno and Sparks area for students, focusing on the ones who live in the more metropolitan and urban area, the ones who don't have that opportunity to get out and experience a working ranch, to go ahead and see the wildlife and the cattle and the cowboys. So also the RAW illustrates one example of connecting our children with nature. And so the one thing I'd like to follow up with today is, how can everyone here help their children get out there, connect with nature, and also be back in touch and get rid of the nature deficit disorder. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. I want to go to that program for a day. It's not